Yeah, he's going to be a little late. Yeah.
Is it home or away?
Home, yeah. He's like, if it wasn't home, it would
All right,
be.
Colleen?
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom. Thank you. So, as usual, a resolution came in late Friday, or actually Saturday, from Rebecca. So I'd like to amend the agenda to add Resolution 39, which is the license agreement for Tilcon, and also motion to approve minutes from March 12th. And on new business, I'd like to put down zoning changes. So I need a motion to make those amendments.
A motion.
Need a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being said. Thank you, gentlemen. A motion is to approve minutes from the March 26, 2018 Town Board meeting. I need a motion for that?
Motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve minutes from the March 26, 2018 public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. March 12th, we tabled it last time because we didn't have a quorum to pass that. So need a motion to approve March 12th minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, need item 5 is authorized payment of bills in the amount of $464,366.24. I need a motion to pay the bills.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Comments on the agenda? No comments. Moving forward. Presentations? No presentations. Moving forward. Report of department and boards. I'll start off. Had a meeting in Kingston on Ulster County Legislature IDA resolution. There was some talk about changing the way the IDA work. Matter of fact, it would, I think, to my opinion, it would put more restrictions on them. So I went up there and said everything the way it was working was fine. And I think that resolution didn't pass. Meeting with CSX and DOT with Councilman Baker at Milton Landing Park. Very interesting, especially with the DOT and the CSX and with the safety officer, Lou, what's his last name?
For FRA? For the,
Yeah.
the feds?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
It was a tiny.
Changed his mind?
Yeah.
You're not good with
Yeah.
saying
Yeah. So
I have no idea.
that was very interesting. So we talked a little bit about the crossing and where we would put a potential crossing for the landing down in Milton. Meeting with Peter Carafano and Sheila Manisi on Meet Me in Marlborough to discuss tourism in the Hudson Valley. I attended the planning board meeting. I met with Megan Taylor of New York DOS, Rosemary Wine, Councilman Baker to discuss CFF grant resubmission. You want to say anything about that, Howard?
Just that we had a good meeting. Most of it was about the Milton Pier grant, and she gave us a lot of good feedback, and we're going to proceed again. I think I sent an email to you guys about that.
Yeah, you did. You gave an update. Appreciate it. Meeting with DOT Representative Craig Hart to discuss CSX crossing at Milton Landing Park. I actually went over and see Craig and asked him what the whole procedure was because it seemed a little fuzzy for me, and he gave me some insight. And then Robert from CSX actually told me what I had to do to file a petition with CSX first, and with all my data, all the data from the landing, and we have all that stuff. So I just started working on that. So hopefully I'll submit that before I leave Saturday. Organize a civilian response to active shooter with Chief Kokoza and DEC Representative Claude Stevens. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it because my hot water heater busted and my wife was like screaming, "What'd I do?" Okay, so we took care of that, not a problem. Attended an annual Easter egg hunt at the Sports Dome with Councilman Corcoran. I think it went well, right?
Yeah, a lot of kids this
A
year.
lot of kids. A couple hundred, would you say, Scott?
At least 200, yeah.
Yeah. Right, Colleen?
Yeah, probably.
We ran out of bags, so.
Yeah.
180, so.
Yeah, it was very well attended. Everybody had a good time. And thank you to the Easter Bunny and the Corcoran family and Colleen and Tina. Tina did a lot of work.
And Joey. Joey stuffed all those bags for
Got a day off.
community work that he put in.
I had a joint meeting with ZBA, Planning Board, Town Code Enforcer, and Councilman Corcoran to discuss zoning changes. So that's the thing I like to add on the new business. Met with Scott Parker, Building Inspector Tom Corcoran, and representatives from Central Hudson at the Chestnut Petroleum site. Thanks to Tom, there was an issue with a telephone pole. We hope we have that resolved. We gave that information to Scott Parker. Met with New York State Controller's Office Representative and Budget Director Chris Wilco in regards to the state audit. Councilman Corcoran and I met with the Marlborough seniors. I think that went fairly well. I left a little early. It was good. And thank you for Mary Martin's stepping in and taking care of that position of coordinator with the buses. Telephone conference with Department of State Representative Barbara Kendall and attorney and planning. The attorney actually was, I didn't get her name. Did you, Howard? From DOS.
I didn't get her name either.
Yeah, and Planner John Beeham and Councilman Baker to discuss LWRP. Basically, what we did was we extended it to 2019. Everybody was in agreement. There's certain things that we still have to do. Attended Milton Engine Company #1 Firefighter Dinner, and we honored a bunch of great people, including Mr. Appler, who for his 50 years of service. It's a good event, Al. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
And attended an event to honor Lucia Natalia, the Pride of Marlborough Award at Shipwinter Inn, and I respectfully submit my supervisor's report. Thomas?
Did they win?
Hi, ladies.
They both win? Good.
It didn't look that way at the start, though. You weren't hitting the ball.
He doesn't look happy. I mean, you won. You don't look happy.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, we
It
won.
was 3-2 into the fifth.
Building Inspector's Report, month of March 2018. Certificate of Occupancy 3, Stop Work Orders 1, Request for Information 19, ZBA Applications 1, Order to Remedy 16, Building Extensions 3, Complaints 28, Fire Inspections 5, Burn Permits issued 8, Fire Calls 3, Clothing Bin Renewals 1, Building Permits, we had 40, 2 one-family, 3 electrical, 1 furnace, 2 demolitions, 1 stove, 2 pools, 6 sheds, 1 roof, 8 burn permits, 2 signs, 1 barn, 4 additions, 1 commercial structure, 2 decks, 1 conversion, 1 carport, 2 solar panels, for estimated cost of building $1,173,293. Revenues, certificate of occupancy 250, request for information 1,800, building extensions 300, building permits $8,363.20, fire inspection fees 320, ZBA escrow fees 700, ZBA applications 300, for a total monthly receipt of $12,233.20. Total gas usage 89 gallons, with total miles of 1,018 miles.
The solar panels, they're residential?
Yeah, residential still. We've got some interest in the larger facilities into the solar farms, so there's been some interest. I think the town board has got some interest on a zoning change. Potentially might be what you're talking about later. But so far, yeah, just residential roof mounts and 1 or 2 ground mounts, but nothing commercial yet I've seen. Had a couple of calls, but nothing applicable.
So are the incentives still there for residential?
That I don't even know.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so, but not as much. I don't,
Not as much?
no.
Yeah.
So overall, you've been busy, and just anecdotally, it looks to me like there's a lot of stuff going on out there.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
like I
that
said,
right?
40 building permits and, chasing 28 complaints.
I keep them busy too.
Listen,
Yeah. How many complaints? I'm sorry.
28,
Okay.
and you have to write 16 remedies. Some I could take care of without actually having to write the remedy. Some we have to do it. Some end up in court. The fire company's been busy. It's very rare that I get called out multiple times, but I got called out 3 to 5 times this month, which was a lot, which is I don't like doing it.
Twice in 3 days.
Yeah, twice in 3 days, so unfortunately. But as always, I get there, and it seems like it never happened because these guys get it out within 10 minutes. These guys are fantastic. Marlborough, Milton, they're there fairly quick. Makes my job easy. It makes the applicants who are doing the repair somewhat easier for them. I haven't seen a total loss, and I don't know if I've ever seen one. These guys get the fire out so quick, they get it to a point where it's contained. I go in, take a structural look, but everything's been great.
Basically, what you do is see if they could go back in?
Correct. I'm getting called out and making sure that they could go back in. So those were multiple fires. I got called out in 3 or 4 furnaces that caught some carbon monoxide. So there was a bunch of calls this past month to get out to assist the fire company. But they're always there way before me, and they take care of it. Just a reminder, we're still in a burn ban March 15th through May 14th. So through May 14th, we will not be issuing any burn permits. Except for the farm permits are still legal. So if you see any burning going on, it would be in the residential areas, and they would be declared farms, and they're exempt from the burn under the DEC ban. And a reminder, after May 14th, burn permits will start to be issued again, and there is a $5 fee for the month.
This is all in the RAG1, or?
Yeah, the farmlands are RNG1. I mean,
Only farms can burn, that's it.
right, everything else under a ban.
And we discussed last week, Greg Allen, that this helps quite a bit, right? With this.
It's unbelievable how much it helps. It's unbelievable how much it helps.
And so people
No,
know.
it really does. And
really
we used to
helps.
go to 25 fires during that stretch. We go to 1 or 2 now. That's it. So it's
And so people know, I mean, people say, well, geez, it's March, April, it's the rainiest time of the year, but understand the ban is put in because at that time of year, it's somewhat, it's rainy, it's wet, but everything's dead on the ground, and we get a quick fire spread. So that's why the ban goes into effect, not because it's wet, it's not wet, it's raining, it's snowing, whatever it might be. It's because all the vegetation is dead sitting on the ground during this time, and any fire gets a quick spread along that dead vegetation. So that's why the ban is in effect. People question me most often on, why is the ban now when it's, the most wet time of year? And that's why, because the vegetation is dead sitting on top of the ground, and we get a larger fire spread if it starts. But overall, it's been pretty good.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
Any questions from the board?
thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Chief,
Good evening.
good evening.
Activity summary for the month of March. Motor vehicle accidents, personal injury 4, fatal 0, property damage accidents 8, accidents not requiring a report 2, for a total of 14 for the month. Summons is issued, vehicle and traffic 77, parking 1, bladder entries handled 348, with a total arrests of 22. Telephone calls handled 1,701 calls. Payroll for 6 and 7, is attached to your reports. The only other overtime was part-time dispatchers, 24 hours, probably a holiday. Police mileage, 12,485 miles, with a fuel consumption of 1,041.590 gallons. Just a couple quick updates on our drone. We need to get drone licenses for the operators. It's quite extensive, so we're working on that. We had a meeting today with the FAA. They kind of outlined what we need to do, and it's going to take some time to do that. Apparently we are in restricted airspace because of the helipad at
St. Francis.
St. Francis, whatever that,
Mid-Hudson
Mid-Hudson Regional, as well as the Dutchess County Airport. So there
Stewart,
runs issues. Stewart's is not so much a problem, believe it or not. Yeah, I thought Stewart's would be a big problem, but Dutchess County seems to be. So they're working on that. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to take some tests before we can actually put it up. The other thing is, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, Al, I did ask Tina to check insurance on the drone, at least liability insurance. I just assumed since it was one of our pieces of equipment that we would be automatically kind of covered, but apparently we're not. So she's supposed to be getting some numbers together and stuff like that. We can, when the insurance lady calls Tina back, I suppose I'll present it to everybody and we'll figure out what we want to do. Right now, it's not a big deal because we're really not using it, but if we do go to deploy at some point, we should have
Yeah,
some
I
insurance.
talked to Nick this morning, and he was saying exactly what you said.
Yeah.
There's all these permits and stuff that they
Yeah,
have to do.
I mean, it had to be registered with the FAA, which we did. It was only $5, so not a big deal, but they make it very complicated. Now, my questioning of Nick and Sergeant Griggs, or Detective Jeremy and Sergeant Griggs, I see people flying drones all over the place, and apparently they're in violation. If there was an FAA cop around, I suppose you get a ticket for it. It's pretty serious, actually.
Right.
Never thought it was this complicated, but we'll work through it. It's going to take some time, but we'll work through it. The only other thing I want to fill you in is doing firearms this month, so the April 14th and April 28th we'll be up at the Walk Hill Correctional Facility. Everybody will be doing firearms. That's training for the month.
And,
How often do you do that, Jerry?
We do it once a year.
thank you for the report on the
Question,
opioid problem.
Not a problem.
Just one question,
Yes.
Jerry. I mean, I'm looking at the summonses. Are people driving better, or,
No,
but you're talking about, so far this year, we're averaging 60 summonses a month, and we were averaging 130 summonses a month
Yep.
last year this time.
different granting, weather's different. They're picking up now. Last week,
I mean, I'm hoping they're driving better. I mean,
no.
I was
I'd like
gonna
to say that, but no.
I was asking the same question considering we drove 3,000 extra miles this
Yeah,
month.
it's
And we
been a
had
busy
half the
month.
summons.
Not too many summons. We did start with DWI 2 weekends ago. We had 2 guys working it, and aggressive driver. We've been using them too for that. So numbers should start picking up now.
Or is our speed thing helping?
right there.
So the speed trailers was logged into today. Well, we had a problem with the batteries. They were supposed to send a technician up from Texas, and obviously they don't want to. They shipped us the batteries. We have them laying on the floor, but I guess it's an intricate process. It's not just connecting 2 cables and putting them on, so they won't let us do it. So we're waiting for our technician to come up. However, they've now called us and told us that it was working because the weather's warmer. The batteries are better in the warmer weather.
made
So
in
we
Texas.
could use it. So we put it out last week, and the LPR function on it was gone. No software for it, completely gone. So they remoted into it today, did whatever they were supposed to do, and they sent a message late this afternoon that it's up and running. Good to go for now, minus the batteries. They're still going to send a technician, they just can't tell us when. They have to pay him to come from Texas, apparently. So they have, I don't know, several hundred units that have this battery issue. They're claiming bad batteries from China or something. I don't
And
know.
that's all under the warranty.
Yeah, they take care of all that. It's just frustrating because it's been like 5 months we've been dealing with it now.
I got you. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Chief.
Thanks, sir.
Al, could you read Mr. Appler's?
yeah, I got it from
You got it?
Okay. Monthly report for March 2018. Roads. We continue to coal patch patrols and open up catch basins and pipe ends as needed. We repaired a broken road edge on Bingham Road. We were flail mowing Highland Avenue and Bingham Road starting 3/19. Due to high winds, we had excessive sign repairs this month. Training. We sent 4 men to Dig Safe New York seminar on 3/15. We sent 2 men to a Cornell Local Roads workshop on 3/28. Snow and ice. On 3/2, we had a nor'easter with high winds and heavy wet snow, numerous trees down and wires blocking some roads all over town. Worked this storm into Saturday as Central Hudson got the down wires under control and we were able to then cut up the trees. On 3/7, we had another storm with up to 12 inches predicted, but we only received about 8 inches. Again, this was a very heavy, wet, and slippery snow with many branches down. We had a couple of trucks stuck due to no frost on the ground, but we were able to pull these out. We had a huge maple down on Old Post Road as we closed that night and we reopened it the next day. On 3/12, we had 2 to 4 inches in the higher elevations and plowed this off. Bingham Road was closed by a fuel truck rollover. On 3/21, we had a forecast of up to 9 inches, but only received 2 to 4. School had early dismissal on 3/21 and a 2-hour delay on 3/22. We are still chipping down trees and branches throughout the town due to the high winds and heavy snows in March. Fuel usage, gas, 395.918 gallons, diesel, 1,847.532 gallons. Respectfully submitted, Gail Appler Sr.
I guess the high elevation is my fault.
Yeah, that's where you live.
Where you live?
Charlie, Mr. Maggio, Water Superintendent. Good evening.
Our monthly report for March, water consumption totaled 13.3 million gallons, which is daily usage of 424,000 a day. Last month, we averaged 12.7 million gallons, which is a daily usage of 453,000. And a year ago, of March, we used 12.4 million gallons, which was a daily usage of 400,000. Summary for the month, water mains, we had to repair a galvanized service line on 9W. Curb boxes, we had to repair curb boxes and valves on Jonathan Place and Route 1417, Route 9W. Taps, we installed a 1-inch tap on 9W in Milton. Classes, Cliff and myself attended excavator safety seminar, which is also Dig Safe. Sewer, we performed a sewer line inspection on 9W in Milton. Service lines inspections 1, closings 3, markouts 15, gallons of gas used for the month 335, mileage for the month 2,200.
Charlie, I think your math's a little off.
Yeah.
Your water consumption totaled this month at 13.3 million, which is 424,000.
Yeah,
But then you're saying compared to last
Yeah.
month, which was 12.7 million, which is a daily usage of 453.
It might be the opposite way.
March has 31 days.
That's true, too. And
February has,
You always get us on that, Charlie.
Is this a leap year too?
no, 20.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Charlie has the answer right there.
He's got it.
Right on.
Colleen? Town clerk.
Town Clerk Monthly Report for March 2018. Burn permits, 1 for $35. Conservation, 5 for $12.79. Dog licenses, 41 for a total of $215. Water services, 1 for $250. Transfer station permits, 3 for $105. Punch cards, 27 for $1,925. Marriage licenses, 1 for $1,750. Building fees, 1 for $4,253. Fire fees, 1 for $1,080. Lifeguard fees for 3 for $750. Zumba, 2 for $212.24. Accident reports, 9 for $45. Certified copies, 6 for $270. Dog warden fees, 2 for $171. FOIA requests, 2 for $61.50. Junkyard licenses, 2 for $500. Park fees, 3 for $450. Sewer fees, 1 for $200. Jiu-jitsu, 2 for $180, for a grand total of $10,733.03. Okay.
Any questions for Colleen? No?
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot,
Colleen. Okay, wastewater treatment facility. I have Mr. Falco's report. Report on the Marlborough wastewater treatment plant for March 2018. The average flow meter reading to the plant was 135,000 gallons per day. The design capacity is 175,000 gallons per day. We use 77% of capacity. The process is meeting all the other speedies requirements. Lab results show that we removed 99% of BOD and 99% of suspended solids during the month. The Milton wastewater treatment plant, the average flow to the Milton plant during March 2018 was 39,000 gallons per day. This is about 71% of design capacity, which is 55,000 gallons per day. We showed 99% of BOD and 91% of TSS removal. The process is working well, meeting speedies requirement. Overall, both wastewater treatment plants are in good working order, but getting older. He keeps saying that. I think that's an indication that they're getting older. The collection system is being monitored and maintained by Charlie Maggio in the water department. And if you have any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. That's Tony Falco, water quality manager. I know he had a problem with his meter last time. Remember the readings were really high, like 235, yeah. So I think he had to recalibrate those. I think he's working on that. Okay, Town of Marlborough dog control. This is from Andrew McKee. We received a total of 21 calls this month, including 5 calls to service from Marlborough PD, State Police, and Ulster County Sheriff. You putting on the game?
No. The email on Sunday.
Respond to 2 active complaints and/or cases which are now closed or resolved. We currently have 3 open cases that has been addressed but is ongoing or unresolved. We impounded 1 stray dog this month. The dog was redeemed by his owner. We currently have no dogs in the kennel. We had 1 dog bite report this month. We had 2 dangerous dog complaints under investigation at this time. And we have a dangerous dog case in the Marlborough Justice Court. And that was Mr. McKee's report. I'm reading the big one here.
Yeah, I got it on my phone, that's what I was doing.
Oh.
See, I told you I read emails. From Cindy Hilbert, regarding April report, April 9, 2018. Our office processed 28 real property sale transfers. We worked on 5 property tax estimates. We are continuing to review our new construction and sales rule. And that's it from Cindy Hilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could have gave you this right here.
Yeah, that was like, making believe I used emails.
Like you're high tech. All right, here's a long one for Howard.
Oh, boy. I look forward to this every week. Here you go.
I know you do. Okay, this is Mr. Brand's report for Planning Board, March 2018. First meeting was March 5th, 2018 at the Town Hall here at 7:30 p.m. Attendees were Chris Brand, Manny Cauchi, Cindy Lanzetta, Joe LaFaro, Benny Trapani, and Joel Troncali. Agenda approval of the stenographic minutes for 2/5/2017. I believe it's 2018. Approval for the above minutes was granted by all members present. First item on the agenda was Susan Bagata, 1 Top Hill Road, Marlborough, final lot line. The lot line change was issued, a negative declaration under seeker, and granted final approval. Second item was Young's 9W Plymouth, 1971 Route 9W, Milton, sketch site plan. The applicant appeared and presented a site plan for the business at the above address. The applicant was advised of several technical issues by the town engineer, Pat Hines, New York State DOT, Ulster County DPW, and Ulster County Planning Board referrals are required for this application. The board discussed how to incorporate safe pedestrian access to and from the site. A request was made to include a possible crosswalk on Route 9W and Milton Turnpike in DOT referrals. Public hearing was scheduled at the request of the applicant for March 19th, 2018. The next deadline is Friday, March 9th. The next scheduled meeting for March is Monday, March 19th. The second meeting was held on March 19th. It's again 7:30 p.m. at the Town Hall. All members present. Agenda approval of the stenographic minutes from 2/20/2018. That was done. First item on the agenda was Robert Young Estate, 1971 Route 9W Milton, public hearing, lot line. A public hearing was opened and closed with limited input from those in attendance. So, motions to approve seeker negative declaration and notice of determination of non-significance, short EAF, and resolution of approval were all granted unanimously. Second item on the agenda, Young's, 9W Plymouth, 1971 Route 9W Milton, public hearing site plan. Public hearing was opened and closed with limited input from those in attendance. The applicant will return at a later date for continuation. Third item on the agenda, Marlborough District Route 9 LLC, 1100 Route 9W Marlborough, public hearing site plan. A public hearing was opened and closed with limited input from those in attendance. Motions to approve seeker negative deck and notice of determination of non-significance, short EAF, and resolution of approval were all granted unanimously. The next item on the agenda was Bayside Mixed Use, 18 Bertzel Avenue, Marlborough, public hearing site plan. A public hearing was opened and garnered at participation from many members of the community. At the request of Chairman Chris Brown, local resident and historical expert Matthew Kierstad was invited to speak. Mr. Kierstad's presentation, including information and pictorial evidence of Camp Young, a historical building on the proposed Bayside site which housed young people who volunteered and worked on farms during World War I. Mr. Kierstad indicated several options the town could pursue from the developer. Some of his proposals included moving the building to another location for use as a museum or visitor center, leaving the building on site, including historical markers within the project bounds, and/or having the applicant provide the community with educational resources to preserve Marlborough's agricultural history. A copy of this proposal was provided to the applicant. Marlborough Central School District's Director of Business and Finance Transportation, Patrick Witherow, spoke in support of the project. He indicated the possibility of improved traffic flow and site improvement associated with the site plan proposal. Concerns raised by those in attendance included technical issues within the site plan, parking, increased local traffic, school safety, aesthetics, increased student population, project construction phasing, preserving Marlborough's agricultural heritage, drainage concerns, and the overall impact to property owners adjacent to the site. In addition, Ms. Bonnie Young, I think that's Lyons, but presented the board with copies of her deed, which included detailed water rights to the site. The public hearing was closed by a 4-3 vote. Written comments will continue to be received until April 16th, 2018. Next deadline is Friday, March 23rd for the next scheduled meeting, which was April 2nd. Respectfully submitted, Chris Brand, Chairman, Town of Marlborough Planning Board.
Thank you, Howard.
Yep.
That wasn't so bad, Howard.
Nope.
Nope.
Can you bring your water this time?
Okay, thank you, Chris, for that report. Report of the committees, Recreation Committee.
So the only thing we got for recreation is summer camp's coming up. There's been some notes out from Kim, so it looks like end of April, beginning of May, there are going to be some flyers going out to the school. For sign-ups, it's going to be from July 2nd to August 3rd. And this year is the first year they are not going to the Dutchess County Fair. So they've been having some issues with kids wandering at the Dutchess County Fair. They don't have enough counselors to track these kids at the Dutchess County Fair, and they're worried about things happening in today's day and age, which is kind of a shame because that was one of the biggest heights of the camp. But they have 5 trips to the Ulster County Pool, 5 trips to the Wooden Wheels roller skating, 2 days slip and slide rental, and a presentation of a science teller. So they are going to have some trips, but you know, they got it all well planned, and you'll see the stuff coming out. So, and again, boot camp and Zumba and Taekwondo is all going at the Tomback buildings, so look on our site, it's all out there, so.
Also recreation, our first bocce meeting is gonna be, April 25th at 7 o'clock up at the courts. If we could get that on the website, that would be great.
Just send it to Danielle and she'll put it up.
Yep, she's off for a week or so. And also, it's also on our page, the Marlborough Bocce page, so if anyone wants to look on there, it's on there.
Get a chance, go see them. They look, came out nice.
Yeah, I did already.
You saw the
Wall
wall?
came out nice, Dave cleaned up, nice, it looked good, so.
There's also a gate up there now, but we have to put some boulders on each side, so this way down.
I went up Saturday, the gate looks good, but it was wide open and everybody was parked down by the pavilion.
Yeah.
So, but again, if we don't put up rocks, they just would've drove around it
Yeah.
anyway.
That's one of the, on the meeting, for the bocce team, that's gonna be one of the things that I'll be addressing.
You guys are gonna move the big rocks there?
No, we're not gonna drive down. They'll find a way. You can keep the rocks there, they'll find a way to get there somehow.
I thought you guys were
We're gonna
gonna
ask them to keep off the grass.
Off the grass,
When is the meeting
it's
on?
not too hot.
April what?
25th,
You can't roll a ball for your
7 o'clock
car seat.
at the courts.
Yeah,
Now we have the roof, it doesn't matter if it rains, we can have it out there.
right.
Got lights. They don't need the cars down there for the lights down there.
Yeah.
And again,
Plenty of light.
and what we'll have to do too is the other gate was open as well by the workshop. So we're just gonna have to make sure that both gates are closed.
Right.
Yep.
And I talked to Vinny Pomerico. I think he's all ready for the concert, so we'll have to arrange with Tom and him that probably the performers could come in on that gate by the playground
Yeah.
and have the other one locked, you know.
But that's gonna be locked all the time. Once-
I think we have it locked, and then when we have the senior picnic and things like that, I think we could open it up for the seniors.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Emergency Management Preparedness Committee.
Nothing new to report.
We met the Conservation Advisory Committee. We're getting really close. Matt was there, Kirstar, and it was a good meeting. So I think we're really getting close as far as getting something to the board as far as design guides. IT Committee. We were supposed to meet with Joel, but Joel went on a cruise.
I just spoke to Joel on Thursday, so he's back. We're gonna try to set something up next week probably, if we can.
You could do it, and then just let me know when it occurs. I'll be away.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
we're almost there. He just, I think unfortunately, this is kind of a little out of Joel's
Yeah.
comfort zone with video. He's more of the computer stuff, so I think he's trying to get some information on the gentleman.
yeah.
So, we're there. We're just about there.
Okay.
We don't want to buy something and it doesn't work.
That's for sure.
So,
So on the Milton Train Station Foundation, I met with Peter Hoffman and Mark Green, who's doing the painting and putting up the railings and the steps and so. Like I said, we're under budget, which is a good thing. So we had a meeting to see if we could do a work change and paint the inside and redo surface the floors. The floors are really beat up, so I think they have to be sanded right down and then reapply the varnish or the coating that they put on. So we're waiting for Mark Green to give us an estimate back on that. Milton Landing Citizens Committee?
Just going back to the train station
Yeah.
foundation, there was an email that went out just about the condition of the inside of the building.
It wasn't really that.
Windows unlocked, and
The
the alarm
windows were
off.
unlocked, I'm not so sure, but when I went in down there the other day, it looks like if maybe somebody went in with their dirty boots and stuff like that. But the windows were a concern, so thank you, Chief, for mentioning that, and thank you, Al, for bringing that up.
Still locked?
Well, one was
Actually,
open,
no,
you
it's
said,
still a
right?
construction site, so they have the key to open it up, and they have their paint and stuff in there.
Right, but I secured all the windows.
Yeah,
And you said
appreciate it.
one was open though, right?
6 were unlocked, 1 was physically open.
One was physically open, I mean,
We
yeah.
only gave much, but
Yeah.
Enough to let heat out and cold in.
Raccoons.
Yeah, it might have been during, the historical society, and we got to make sure that they're closed. But when I went in there, they had this chair set up. It looked like the Historical Society had been in there.
Okay.
And basically, it wasn't that bad. But, you know, we're going to redo the floor, so thank you for the heads up on that, Chief. And then when we're finished, too, we have those 2 cameras that we want to put up. So hopefully that'll be done. The weather is just killing us with the painting. Yeah.
I've kind of been waiting for the
You want to speak into the microphone, please?
Sorry. I've been kind of waiting for the gentleman to do his painting because he's got that nice machine.
Yep.
This way I don't have to balance on a ladder 25 feet in the air.
Okay.
Because I don't do well with heights.
Come on, Jerry.
So that machine will lift me right up. It'll be 2 minutes and so that's what I'm trying to make that.
That's what I was just gonna say, he doesn't do good.
You know, I'll make sure that's Mark Green's.
Okay.
And so I'll make sure he keeps it there until we finish putting up the
Yeah,
lights.
I'm gonna get with him.
Yeah.
Are there any more? Are you-
And also, Charlie helped me take the lights down for him to paint, so we're going to put the lights back up, and might as well have that machine there to do it. Right, Charlie? Good idea. So, Milton Landing Citizens Committee, we're going to have something, right, Al?
The cleanup actually got moved to the 31st, Saturday. We had, because guys had a lot of stuff coming up, so Gail moved it to the 31st. So we actually did the initial spring cleanup we did on Saturday the 31st. Bunch of people showed up. We leaf blowed the trail from the top, bottom to the top, top to the bottom. Cleaned up the shoreline. Probably pulled out about 4 dump truck loads worth of driftwood. Cut up some large trees. Nicely, though, we only picked up about half a bag of garbage, and most of that was stuff that drifted up onto the shore. Cool. So it wasn't stuff that people who were visiting the park left. So we got a lot done.
You having the spring fling?
We did it. Spring Fling is going to be on April 27th. Vivian's been putting the signs up around town. So
Is that the barn?
it's going to be it's going to be at the barn. I'll be out of town for that. I'll be in Indianapolis, so I won't be able to attend.
That's on a Friday?
It's
Friday
April
night.
27th?
I believe it's the 27th. It should be a Friday night, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah, so it would be the 27th. And it'll be at the barn, and again, I'll be out in Indianapolis, so I won't be able to make it.
Okay, thank you. Marlborough Hamlet Economic Development Committee. Howard, do you like to talk about that?
Yes, I guess the main thing there, and it pertains to the next 2 items, to Meet Me in Marlborough and Hamlet of Milton Association, is they're working together to hold this meet and greet for all the businessmen and business people in the town of Marlborough at the Falcon. I don't know, sometime in May, early May, there's a meeting next week on the 17th. And Al can't go and I can't go because we're not going to be here. So if someone could attend that meeting, it's next Tuesday. And it's probably at the Falcon and it's probably at 7:30 p.m. But I can check on that and let you guys know. I will send you that information.
I'm traveling, so I'm out.
All right. Yeah, so that's the main thing I would have to report. And the whole idea is for all 3 groups to work more closely together, which we've been talking about. And I think it's finally happening, at least in terms of this event. So that's a good thing. And the only other thing is, John DeMarco is still working on the extension of the gas line on Grand Street in Marlborough. So still talking to people and talking to Central Hudson and so forth and so on. So that's still a possibility. I don't know what else. I mean, everybody knows about Tilcon. That's a good thing. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's all good stuff. And by the way, the site plan for the sidewalks on Grand Street was completed, and I submitted to Central Hudson. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Unbelievable, a week and he's done.
So when is that going to happen? Just so I can let the church know, because they're to be the most
Well,
impacted.
I'll send you the map, so this way you requested the map.
Yeah, okay.
And now it's up to Central Hudson to, put together a plan on moving the utility poles.
Okay.
We told them where to move it. It's outside of the boundaries of the church. So when you see the site plan, it's pretty, lot of details as far as where the sidewalks going. There's a catch basin. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that the Central Hudson wanted as far as utilities.
Great.
So I gave that to them last week, so hopefully we'll hear from Lisa Carver and those guys. Meet me in Marlborough. Like I said, I met with Sheila to talk about how to promote Marlborough and all its wonderful assets, with the farm trail and the wine trail and all the great stuff that they're also involved, right, with the meet and greet with the economic development. Okay.
Yeah, so that's
So we're all together.
all three of those groups. They're in the G, H, and I are all together on that meet and greet.
That's great. We should be.
Yep.
So we talked about the Hamlet and Milton Association Committee. Is that the one, Al, with that we just got the 5013C? You're pretty close to having the 5013C.
Who's
Is that the Hamlet and Milton Association Committee, or is that the?
No, that's the.
Milton Landing, right?
Yeah, Milton Landings, we're getting closer and
Yeah.
closer.
Thanks to Rosemary Wine. She did great stuff. All right. And
Transfer station.
transfer station, yes.
Yeah, two things there. One, we're finally going to have a meeting on May 15th. I apologize for how long it's taken to get that together, and the purpose of that meeting is to talk about potential garbage districts, for lack of a better word, something we've been talking about. So we're going to kick that off on that May 15th meeting here at the 7 p.m., I think it is, at the supervisor's office. Anybody can come, so it's open to the public. And I sent you guys an email. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring this up, but I would like to start hacking away at that pile of tires at the transfer station. It turns out we do have $1,000 set aside for that. I would like to ask for another $1,000, maybe $2,000, to see if we can't make a dent in that. I don't know. I think it's like $2 or $3 a tire, so you're only going to get 300 tires for the $1,000. That's not going to make too much of a dent, so that's why I'm saying 2,000. We have 1,000 set aside in the budget, so.
I'd make a motion for 5,000. I want to get rid of those damn tires. I mean, we've been looking at them for 8 years.
Yeah.
So I think 2,000, if we start with 2,000 to see what that does, Scott, if you're in agreement, and then that just goes over $1,000
Yeah, I wouldn't-
our budget.
I wouldn't mind seeing 2 this year, 2 next year.
Yeah, that's,
You know
that's
I mean?
what I'm thinking. That's
Let's just
chip
chip,
away
next,
at it.
3 years, it's gone, you know what I mean?
I hope so.
So I'll make a motion, Howard, to add an additional $1,000 to our transfer station budget to allow for the disposal of the tires.
I'll second.
I need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed? No? Thank you.
Good. All right.
We have any idea of who, I think you've gone through this.
I have
person.
some contacts, and Larry has some contacts. Larry's hot to get it done, so I'll ask him to get some quotes and go from there, okay?
Okay. So I noticed when I was up there today that there's a big pile of metal. Are we waiting for a certain time?
Yeah, we can't afford to have a dumpster there any longer, so when it gets to a certain volume, then we call Gail and we call the dumpster people, and they coordinate that, and they dump it in there. They take it away. We also got to think about chipping that pile of brush there, but
Yeah, I
that's,
saw that.
we can worry about that at some later point. After.
Thank you, Howard. Old business, sale of Tomback property. Scott?
So you guys got the email. We got a new renewed offer. It's still a little lower than we thought, but it's 31,000 more than the last one. So it went up. I did talk to Catherine today. She says again, she doesn't think that's still a realistic number, but they're going to keep trying to chip away at us. So I guess her feedback was, "What do you want?" I know Al and Howard's number, so, I mean, what do you guys think as a number? We're asking $399 for Tomback.
But we took
So
it down,
we
right,
got
to
offered
385?
$331 right now.
But didn't we decide to take it down
So we went down
385?
to $398 was the last offer.
Okay.
398 or 389?
I thought it was
I mean,
380.
$389, sorry.
Yeah,
$389 was what we
Right.
told her last.
Our counter offer.
And they came back with,
$331.
yep.
Because she said they went back and looked at, because they're looking at this, so, well, it doesn't matter to us. I mean, what they want to look at, it's up to them, right? But they're looking at it as an empty building, right? That they're going to have to renovate and do things, and they're actually going to add on to the building.
Yes.
They want to add on, what, 4,000 square foot to the building. So they're looking at their costs, and, but again, that's on them. You know, we have a price that we think it's worth, and so she's just asking us, what should we, do we counter anything less than we gave her last time, or do we leave it at what we gave her last time?
Well,
I don't know.
you know my feelings, so
I know your
I,
feelings.
I don't even want to sell it, so.
So I know. What about,
So you guys,
We're about 58 difference, 389 to 331, right? So that's 29, gets you to 360.
I think we're making a big mistake here. We're giving away a lot of valuable stuff. They're going to build a 4,000 square foot addition. They have the property. I mean, my whole point is, we talked about this, Al, is I would feel a lot comfortable if we had a plan on where we're going and where we're going to build this rec center and what type of rec center it's going to be. So.
It's going to take 11 years out.
11 years. Well, right now we have 3 people that are utilizing the rec center for Zumba and martial arts and whatever. I mean, those people count too, I think.
Absolutely, they count.
We
They
have a
also
couple
deserve a
options.
rec center. I mean, they deserve a nice rec center.
Yeah, but I'm
like
saying
everybody else
that
in
you
the
just
town
said
does.
11 years.
What's that?
You just said
Because
11.
we can't get rid of the building. We've been doing this forever.
He's not saying 11 years from now, he's saying.
Yeah, we just.
Well, that's why I would feel comfortable, even though I oppose selling it, if you tell me where we're going to build this rec center.
well, if you're comfortable, I'll call Phil Bell and I'll get some estimates of what it would cost to get us a plan for the park.
Yeah, we got property at the park.
I would love
Where
to
would
see-
you put it
I
in
would
the
love to
park?
s- I would love to see that, though.
I'll go there with Phil Bell and we'll figure out where the best spot is. I'm thinking to the side of the basketball court. That's where I've been thinking forever.
Well, here you are, you're saying the seniors will have a hard time with 9W at Tomback, and here you want to put the seniors in a situation where they have to make a
You get your
left.
friends in the DOT, who you're best friends with, and tell them to put a turning lane in a 4-lane highway.
I don't have any best friends at
But
DOT,
what I'm just
Scott.
saying is, we're talking about putting turning lanes.
When you go to turn into the park, if you're heading north, you take your life into your own hands.
If you go to take a left, into Tomback, you're taking your life. in
Well,
your
that's
hands.
what
You're
I'm
heading
saying.
south.
You're exchanging one
This
for the
argument's
other.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, I guess we could have this conversation. All I'm saying
We
is
have
you
been having
still
this
put the seniors in harm's way, because when we have a senior picnic, we have to have the police
Are we
there.
talking about a rec center, or are we talking about a senior center? I'm
Yeah.
talking about a rec center.
Yeah, I know,
Totally
that's-
different than what you're talking about.
That's what I wanted to know. That is, a rec center is sort of a basketball, volleyball,
Yeah,
that kind of
it's a
thing.
rec center.
And not a
More-
community center, which is what the
Correct.
senior citizens kind of need.
Correct.
And other people might need, so so
we're
it's, it's-
talking about a
so
rec
it's,
center.
you're not envisioning the senior citizens, this
Well,
place
I think
doesn't
it-
have a kitchen.
I think it could still be used,
No.
utilized,
It's just a-
Howard.
excuse me.
I'm looking at a dual use. It could be utilized anytime by the seniors if we were to put a small kitchenette in there. They're gonna have tables. There's gonna be a warm, updated building, well lit, nice parking lot. So it could be a dual use
It
building.
could. I mean, I would love to see something that,
Well, I mean, we can't, like you said, you want to see something.
Yeah.
You gotta get someone.
gotta get
that's
something on
professional
paper.
and knows what
I
he's
understand
doing,
that, I understand that, and.
So
but-
Al's saying we want to see it. Well, I can't draw it. I'm not a art, I'm not.
And we actually have some drawings from
Tomback.
Mazer and Mazer
But I'm not
for
looking at
that.
Tomback. You're looking.
No, Mazer and Mazer gave us a drawing for that 1.25 acres by Bayside.
By Bayside, yeah.
That would be, I'd like to see that
That's
again.
more of like that I would say is a community center building.
Okay.
So that's different.
That, yeah,
That's different.
it is different. That's the whole
A
thing.
rec
And the-
center, I'm talking about a gymnasium this size.
You're right, I know.
I mean,
And
we've
the
got,
other-
we've really got people you know, basically doing martial arts, they're doing Zumba, they're doing the Hudson Valley Fitness, which is all great stuff, but they're doing it in a bingo hall. Like, let's give them a building they can actually do this in. Hey, you know what, maybe somebody will form a volleyball league for winter sports.
Right, there's
You know what I
different
mean?
things that could happen.
Let's give them,
Basketball.
I mean, you're so limited down there, and you can only do so much with that building.
Well, that's
You can only
great.
do so much
That's
with
what
it.
I'd like to see that and hear about that. Is there a demand for this rec center?
Yeah,
also?
it's-
Is there a
When this facility was open, when the schools, I guess it was more budget-wise too, this facility here was used quite a bit. There was line dancing in this building, there was volleyball, there was basketball, there was, I don't think yoga, I don't know if yoga was here or not, but I drove by this building a lot, and there was people in here, and I think the other gymnasiums in town were too, and I think the school had to scale back a little bit because of budgets, and, you know, that's all in the past. But, you know, there were activities like that, there really were.
I mean, the other option is, I told you guys about, I talked to Nick Pease up at the Dome. Me and Howard been trying to get up there, but it always snows on the day we're supposed to.
Yeah, we were gonna go up there, the
And you were gonna
snowstorm.
come up with us, Alan. He has a almost 14,000, 12,000 square foot, was a storage building, it's in front of the Dome, that he originally planned on renovating for like a rec type center. That's what he was planned on doing. It's just an open space area that could be renovated to what we need. There's a building already there. It's already at a sports dome. It's already got hundreds of parking spots,
You have
right?
to purchase it.
Well, we have to talk to him and find out what he wants to do. I think he wants to do a joint thing, part private, part local, with him. So, again, we have to sit and talk to him and see what he's really talking
You're gonna
about.
have to have a lot of parking, because on the weekends when he has those tournaments, you can't even.
Again, but he has a lot of space there, so,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, let's continue so we're back to the sale of the property, so it's up to you guys, because I don't want to sell it, so I'm
Well,
not going
I
to make
think-
an offer.
I don't know if we can actually sit and, if we're gonna be negotiating with somebody who's trying to buy it, we should actually be sitting, being recorded, saying what our price
Right.
is. So
Well,
I don't know
I'm
if this is
gonna
even a
email
good
you
idea.
guys back, just email me some numbers. Actually, you got the email, just email me some numbers, because I wanna give her a number tomorrow. All right?
Yeah, I think it, because Cluett Chance Memorial Park was done with grants, I would have to check with
Yeah, you just gotta get.
them up there at Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
But even if we were to take line item money or member item money, that would be considered tax money, which would basically open up the town back if we were to use that member item money as well. Right or wrong?
Okay, why don't you guys
I
send
don't know.
those emails out, and we'll continue this.
Don't know the answer to that question, Alan. I do. But
Municipal parking, are we done with that? We good with that? Scott?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Good
the
with that?
question was from Alan, it was that if we use member item money for Tomback, wouldn't that open it up to, you're suggesting that state money, so it would have to open up the, that building to people beyond,
People beyond the town.
beyond town, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think
So that's a
the
good-
town of Newburgh is doing something, but they're jumping through hurdles, I think. There's a different types of grants that you could do certain things with parks, so I'll check with her and I'll send you the email when she responds with.
So let's just go back. I think what Alan's getting at is say we use $250,000 grant from Frank on Tomback. Now Tomback becomes a state building, not a town building anymore.
No, it's still a down building, that's a member item. That's not part, yeah.
But you'd have to open
Parks and Rec, if you get it from Parks and Rec,
So the
It's
member item, we don't have to say it's open to everybody, no matter what.
you control it.
Okay, all right.
Same like if you opened it up on the turnpike,
Right.
and we put Frank's money into that, we control that. It's just when you get money for parks and recreation, then it's open to anybody
Right.
traveling. You know, if they want to stop at the park and have a picnic,
Yeah, I
and they're
didn't think-
not
I didn't think
Marlborough,
about what Alan was asking. but that's-
If we get new bills, whether it's Tomback or someplace else, we have $250,000 from Frank, and we have whatever we sell the Tomback building, we just decide to sell the Tomback building. So if we got 370 for that, we're talking about almost over $600,000.
Over 600,000, right.
Going towards that. You build a pretty nice facility.
And then with Bay.
Well, don't forget, you're building a facility and you have to do, go on for RFP. And then I think the Wicks law kicks in where you have to go separate with electricians for an RFP and all that other legal stuff. A Tomvac, you just, yeah, you have to do the same thing. If you go in, yeah, if you went into, you know, replace the air conditioning and the plumbing, you would have to do the same. It's a Wicks law. It's in our code.
I finally get what you guys, you three guys, think that Tomback building's not a very nice building, basically, right? You think it's.
I
you
don't think it's not
you
a
don't
nice
see the
building. I don't want to say
value-
that. It's not,
value.
I don't think it's adequate. I don't think it's an adequate facility for what people want to use it for. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
It was built for one
it was
purpose.
built for one thing, and it made a good bingo hall, and it was nice to have a wedding reception there and a Sweet 16. I've been to a bunch of them there. It was great for that. It really was. But, what's that?
Sweet 16.
Well, it wasn't my Sweet 16. But anyway, but what I'm saying is, it was good for that, and it was good for an ambulance corps. But I think if you want to really do what's going on, you know, with the fitness club, with Zumba, and with martial arts, it's not an adequate building.
But on the other hand, if you want a community building, like the senior citizens, and maybe a church would like to rent out it to have a church supper, and they don't have a facility like the
Well-
Milton Methodist Church used to use this area.
The worst
You know
thing
what?
they did was taking the kitchen and everything out of there.
Yeah, but again, let's go back 23 years ago. This, kids used to eat lunch here and then play basketball here. We could do something similar to that. You know, so so the Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church, they can go up and have their dinners there, or their breakfasts, you know.
So that's
Boy
your,
Scouts
that's
do
your
spaghetti
vision
dinners.
of a multi-purpose, all-purpose type of building?
Yes.
That's not your vision so much. That's what we kind of have to get to.
If you want to do it, I'm more of the rec side, but I mean, if we want to do a multi-purpose building, it can easily be done that way. It's not like it can't be.
Okay, so we,
Here's another thing, Harold. I mean,
I don't see
I've been
why
on the
can't.
board for 10 years when I think it was 2 years after you were off the board. I forget who was the supervisor then. But we had an assessment of that building. I don't think if you remember, Scott, I think you were on the board. And it's not a well-built building, we were told, by I think it was Mazer, or one of those guys went in, did a full assessment of the building, and told us the building is not well-made. It's gonna need a lot of work to bring it up to what it should be, proper way. That's what I was told.
Well, they said we couldn't go up. It
Yeah,
wouldn't have
couldn't go up,
had-
but he said
couldn't have
the actual building itself, though, was not made well.
But I think at the end results, regardless who was the supervisor before we came here,
Right.
that you met and you've decided that's the best place to put it, up at Tomback. That's what I read.
Best place to put what?
the town hall?
Yeah, the town hall.
I never, you can check my voting record, I never said that.
That
because-
never came out to be the best spot, or
No,
we'd be
because
there right now.
every time they brought up,
Yeah.
every
If
time
that
they
was the
brought
best
up.
spot, we'd be there now.
No, prior to the school being
No.
available.
No, because you know what
Because
happened?
there was a committee that was formed. It might have been with Mr., not Mr. Osborne, Mr. Cerrone might have put that committee together. And regardless, it's going backwards. So basically, I'll check into, I think the better idea is not the park, but to talk to Nick to see how we could arrange something there and look at the building and visually look at it. Maybe Al, I don't know if you're available because me and Howard will be gone. Maybe you could call Nick up and take a look at it.
Yeah, I talked to him at the Easter hunt, so I just gotta get a hold of him and meet
Okay.
him.
This week, Scott, this week would be good. Next week I travel. And then the week after I travel.
This week's not good for me. We'll
You
get
should
him.
talk to Joel Troncalli.
I mean, definitely nothing, I mean, the whole thing is,
A cold storage to the house.
you guys got to come up with a price, and so email each other, so this way we don't let the cat out of the bag.
Exactly.
I'm good at big building he has up there, Nick.
One of you can't be there.
Keep Ed in the loop.
I'm good either week, Scott, so we're good.
Yeah, I'm gonna, just so the board knows, I'm gonna contact Phil Bell just to see if he'll do something pro bono, just to give me
Yeah.
give me some ideas of where we wanna go. I think we kinda, we're all leading around, because the thing about me with the rec center being a rec center and then a public building is, I know how the seniors are, they don't like it. they want it to be set and that's it. They want it to be left alone and that's it. They don't want it to be taken down, put back up, put it back together.
Yeah,
It's just
they
gotta be set.
They can't do
So if you're talking about a dual use, you'd almost have to build a rec center in another building.
I don't know if it has to, I don't know if it has to be a
Because
separate building.
they are very, you know
They're
it.
set in their
You
ways.
know it. They don't want things moved.
You could also divide the building, I mean, with a, you know, partition or
Well,
whatever. you
that's
have
why the one that Nick has, it's separated into 4 spots right now.
to. Right.
So that might work.
I mean, I don't know if you still have the drawings from Mazer on that piece of 1.25?
We still have those.
Yeah, we have.
You still have that? We'll take a look at that.
That was a 4,000.
Well, how many square feet was
The
it?
problem we had with that was
That was
parking.
about 4,000, but there wasn't enough parking in that spot.
Right.
There was,
But
it's
this
just a,
place might have enough parking, I don't know, 4,000 square feet doesn't. I don't know how much per square foot, is it $210, so you could figure out what the cost is gonna be?
Right.
It might be, because if you wanna put in a basketball court and other things, it must be, maybe it might be more money for the flooring and stuff like that, and we might be over the 600,000.
let's go a couple million on that.
Absolutely.
No,
That's one
of course,
the
we
plans I
gotta,
saw for the Tomback
we
building
gotta
at
be
Town Hall.
realistic here, but I mean, the bottom line is, we gotta
We gotta do something.
do something here.
Okay.
We just wanna make sure that, you know, people, because I got a couple texts, you know, people that use the Tomback building now are nervous that, like, where they're not gonna know where to go. That's not the point, because even if this building, we accepted an offer, I envision it going all the way to November, because we'll probably have a vote on it or something.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like the next day it's gone. It's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, well, okay.
I'm going to read my email, so keep me in the loop.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I may not.
So I thought we took this municipal parking in the hammocks off.
We did.
So,
We did, Chief, we did.
See ya.
making that a motion to take it off,
Make
maybe
a
you think?
motion to take B off the, old business.
B?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll
Need a
second.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Didn't we take C off too?
Design standards for the Route 9W corridor overlay district. Like I said, the CAC is working on those. Getting close.
We took another one, I saw.
Go back to the other one.
Howard, you want to talk about LWRP? Because we hit upon it, that conversation.
Local Waterfront Revitalization Program grant report that Mr. Behan put together has been finally reviewed by the Department of State and their legal people, and we had a call last week to go over their comments. There are a fair number of comments, but no showstoppers in them. So John Behan, our consultant, will respond to those comments and try to get them addressed as best he can. Then, to close this thing out, we still have to get another layer of legal review, and there's a couple of other steps, but the main thing is to get these comments addressed. So there's still work to be done. I consider it a document that we can use now. It's got a lot of good recommendations in it, so let the state do what they do, but we have a document we can use for our planning purposes.
And their comments were very minimal. I mean,
Yeah, they were.
but they want to extend it to 2019. And when we get it done, it doesn't matter, you know, it could be 2 months from now, a month from now, they'll accept it and we can move forward.
Right. So there are hoops that we have to jump through, but not great, not big hoops. And then the Route 9W corridor study, I think you mentioned now, we had a call. Well, we were supposed to be on a call, but we weren't able to be on the call because we had conflicting meetings. But Department of Transportation and Ulster County Planning and the consultant who did the Route 9W corridor study, which you guys have seen, which had a lot of suggested changes, mainly a reconfiguration of the lanes down to maybe 3 in areas. The DOT is a little nervous about that. They want to make sure it's not going to cause a slowdown of traffic, so they want some more data, more study done, and the Ulster County has agreed to do that. I think it's about $9,000 additional work. It's not our money, it's their money, so that's, I think, is what is in the works, and some more analysis has to be done to satisfy the DOT that this is not going to be a problem. Unfortunately, that's where we are. I think it's a good sign that the DOT is actually taking this seriously and wants more information to make sure it's not going to be harmful. I take it as a good sign.
It's a good sign.
So we'll see what happens. It's going to take some more time, guys. So that's where we are. No.
Okay, moving on. Just to let you know, too, today I met with a couple of people that put up large solar panels, and one was East Light Partners, and that's also the one that's thinking about a local 2 megawatts on private property. And I talked to Next Amp, which is from Boston area, and I met them up at our landfill. The big thing with our landfill is each one of them, when they look at it, is the slope. So we ran across that like 2 years ago when we had this gentleman look at it. It was about the slope and not finding where the three-phase was. The three-phase is not a problem. It's mostly the people that me and Howard have been talking to. Our landfill, the slopes are pretty radical, so.
You're talking where the woods are going up the mountain?
Yeah, on the other side, as you're going south, there you can't put nothing. That's just a steep.
Yeah.
But portions of it are pretty flat, but a lot of them don't want to spend the money to actually cut down trees and stuff. It just it makes it too expensive for them to do it. So this person is going to look at it, and we're also dealing with another person with Howard Bigelow.
Borrego.
Borrego. And so maybe something will happen, and maybe something won't happen. But we were hoping that we could put at least a 5 megawatt, 6 megawatt up there, but it doesn't look like it. Well, we'll see what we could do. Like you said, Al, nothing's easy. In Marlborough, everything's either slope or rock. So, a new business, a lease agreement with Tilcon. Per the instructions of the board, I sent that lease agreement out to Rebecca Volk, and she sent it back, and it's up for, I need a motion to sign it, but before that, there's a resolution.
Yep.
And so at the resolution time, we'll go to that and we'll address that. Correspondence. I do have a couple correspondence. So when we were talking about, and I think we added this to the agenda about code changes. So one of the code changes comes from local residents that wants to put a solar farm. Unfortunately, he's zoned R1. And if you just look at the map, there's nobody adjoining him that's RHE1 except for a person a little to the, would you say west, Tom?
West.
Yeah. So I sent letters out to both the occupants or the residents of both properties. And so I haven't heard back, but I think, you know, when we talk about the code changes, I think this is one that we should incorporate because it's, you know, we would have to get legal anyhow because some of the other code changes are pretty easy. So it would go to RAG1, so this way it's acceptable in our solar code that you could put a farm, a solar farm on there. So it would be from R1 to RAG1.
So extend the zone.
It's because solar farms are only allowed in the RAG1 or the industrial districts, you know, so that's how it was put into the code book. This farm, it's actually a farm, is actually just located in the R1. So to put the solar farm on there per code can't happen. The only way it can happen is with a zone change from R1 to RAG.
I think they still get an ag exemption too, don't they? Isn't that supposed?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't make any
Well,
It's kind of adjacent
yeah,
to
so
RA1.
there's a lot of
except
things
for
that
this one
probably don't make
parcel.
sense.
One parcel in between, so you've got RAG 1, R1, R1. And the one that's in between theoretically should almost be RAG 1.
Yeah, the one that's R1 should have never been in that zone, should have never existed, but it
Why can't we
does.
just change that to RAG1?
We can, but it's a process, so I sent the letters out to the two residents and told them that this is what we're doing. You have to make a case of why you're doing it, and one of the reasons is it's in our comprehensive plan to keep our farmland to the west, farmland. So I wrote that letter to both the residents of both those properties. And once we do a resolution, then we have a public hearing and people will have to come in and say,
I'm still confused of what we're doing here. I have no idea what we're changing.
okay.
Yeah, change
So
it.
The zoning of
the
this parcel.
zone that this gentleman wants to, he's zoned R1.
Right,
He wants to put in a solar farm.
correct.
He can't put a solar farm in according to our code. You have to be ARG1.
Right.
Ag. So, yeah.
I get
ARG.
that.
Okay.
So why don't we just change that property to RAG1?
Because he doesn't abut anything that's RAG1, so that would be spot zoning.
But if we change the thing that R1, then it's gonna open it up to the whole town to do this.
No,
Just that
we're
piece of property.
changing two properties that are, the one property is connected to our,
Yeah, but what's the other effects that this would do to
Oh,
other
you're saying-
properties within the town?
It's an individual zoning.
I don't wanna open up the whole town to just do solar panels everywhere, because that's what's gonna end up happening
I
if
don't
we keep
think-
expanding this stuff.
no, you could just do it in a RAG1.
First of all, you have to have, what, 20-plus acres?
Yeah, but you're saying you wanna include R1 now to be available.
But this,
No, just that one
no,
piece of
no,
property.
just this particular,
So how's that not spot zoning?
because this, see, this R1 is connected to RAG1. So in order to make this not spot zoning, you have to make this RAG1. If this is made RAG1, then it's all connected, and that's not spot zoning.
It's
So you
extension.
have a continuous,
The situation, Scott, that, not only is that
So you-
R1, he also has an ag exemption, so it's always a
But
farm.
you're talking code change or just a?
No,
You said code change, that's why I'm confused.
well,
change to the
well,
zone.
it is a code change.
Well, it's not a code change, it's a zoning
No,
change.
It's a zoning change.
Code, the
It's
code
not-
stands.
Code
That's where you
change
got me
codes,
confused, you
don't
said
need
code
anything to the
change.
book.
it's just a map.
It's a zoning change, but it's almost like a code change
no, it's
because
not.
you gotta go through the process.
No, it's a zone change.
Public hearing,
Oh, yeah, that's all.
yeah.
But it's
You're
not a
not changing
code change.
codes.
No,
No
that's
change to
right.
the book. Listen, this is similar, you
To the
five
map.
sat there, this is similar to the same process in
I-
Western
I'm
Avenue.
fine.
We have from
Okay.
C1.
You said
I'm-
code change, so
I'm sorry.
code change, I'm thinking if we
Zoning
do this,
change.
it's gonna,
No, zoning
it's the whole
change.
town.
Let me
C1 to R.
rephrase it, zoning.
Zoning's different, then you're just, that's what I
I
said, just
got it.
rezone it.
And
I
it is, it
stand
was
to be
always a farm.
corrected.
Okay. Now I understand, you
And
got me confused.
Al, you said two people you've contacted, that would be the people in the middle? Who are the two, you don't have to give me the names, that guy, he's gonna
This
be,
guy here.
that guy, and who's the other person?
This is,
Well, he's gonna be in favor for
yeah.
sure, right?
He's
Okay.
the one that wants the zone change.
That's the 80-acre
From
plot.
R1 to RAG1.
And I could argue that, as
And
you
this
said,
is
Tom,
R1.
that R1 spot in the middle should have been RAG1 a long time ago.
So now, the only thing I would ask is, wouldn't you have to contact all these landowners around?
Well, when the solar people come in front of the planning board, the only way they can come in front of the planning board is to change the zoning to RAG1. And then they'll do the circulation of 500 feet within wherever the solar farm's gonna be. So then they go through the process. They go to the building department, they
There's a
go
lot of
through the whole.
properties around that property that might not like that to be,
Well, that's,
First of all, the zoning change is done by you. I mean, you run it by the planning board, you change the zone.
yeah,
The solar farm's not gonna do a zone change.
No.
The notification that they're gonna do is under the site plan application with
Yes.
the planning board.
but what I'm saying, if we do a zone change on that, wouldn't we have to contact all those surrounding properties of that big?
at the
We're gonna
public
do-
hearing.
We're gonna do a public hearing for the zone change, just like you did on Western Avenue in Platico when you went from C1 to R. It's the same zone change. You changed, I don't know, 15 properties from C1 to R,
No, I know, but
Couple
we'd
years
have,
ago?
we'd have to certify letter all these properties. right?
whatever you did from that C1 to R.
Yes.
Years ago.
You would have.
Yeah, somebody has to. I don't know who's it
Did
on.
somebody do that? There was a lot of zone change.
Remember? The town board
I
did
wasn't involved in that one.
Town board did a C1 to R.
I'm sure that we'll get, from either lawyer, we'll get a good indication of what we have to do this.
And that's 80 acres, right? So the potential would be 40 acres of solar panels? Is that right, Tom?
I think they're looking for 20 acres.
20 on an 80?
Yeah,
I think
there's
they're looking to
there's a
do-
maximum lot coverage.
Wait a
of-
minute, they're doing 2 meg.
And I didn't think it was big. I thought it was only a 2-acre parcel.
Yeah, no.
They didn't want to, they didn't
No,
want to
he's,
large bank.
I had a meeting with him today, Tom. He's talking 10 to 12 acres.
Oh, it's changed since I said it. There's a setback requirement from the
That's
property
still,
lines.
out of 80 acres, 10, that's,
It's the lot coverage, which I believe
Less than
is
20%.
30%
Just like,
RAG one.
if you live next to
plus an
that, then
additional
you don't want
20.
no 10-acre parcel
50%.
of solar panels
well,
around it.
that's where the setbacks and all that comes into. You know, I understand what
So,
you're saying.
this is a zoning change. We could talk
So
about that.
You're asking our approval to go to the next step?
Well,
Can I
I
see the
think
map
there was, at the meeting that you missed,
Yes. I know that.
we talked about various things.
I
And
don't know if I
so,
want to spend the money on this, personally. I was getting them involved in writing up a zoning change. I'm actually not in favor of it, so I'm not gonna vote to approve any kind of monies for attorney, because I'm not in favor of turning that property in the middle of a residential zone to ag. That's me. So I'm not, but you guys could do whatever you want.
It's not really a residential zone, but I wouldn't
It's
consider.
R1, that part is.
It is zoned R1, but it's
all
not a
R1,
residential.
but it was a mistake because that was a farm.
Tell that to all the residents that
He
live
had an
around.
ag exemption. He still has an ag exemption.
It's not like it's high-density residential around it, I wouldn't say, but it's not a,
Anybody that has property around there
Hamlet.
bought it from him. Anybody that owns property around there bought it from him. That was
so,
That went right down all the way.
we talked, well, let me just go through the correspondence, and then we could talk a little bit more about the code
Okay.
change, if you don't mind.
Can I see the map while you're reading?
You gonna memorize this? Take a picture.
You're taking it away from him.
I'm taking it away from me and going like this with it.
Okay, so we're talking about the Memorial Day Parade, and that's going to be in Milton this year, right, Al?
Yep.
Okay. And let me see. Tomorrow, VB Sutton, Sunday, May 27th. That's when the Memorial Parade will be. It's going to start at 1 p.m. sharp, and it goes through Milton, then up across 9W, and then to Cluett-Chance Park. So it should be good. And they're honoring Charles W. Wibby 100 Years Memorial, Wibby Sutton Post. It's named after him. So, okay.
Did they put a theme on that?
Excuse me?
Is the theme, is that the theme?
Yeah, that's the theme. Honoring Charles. Charles W. Wiebe, is that how you say it?
think it's
Wiebe
Vibey.
something?
Vibey
Vibey?
something.
Vibey, something.
Some year they did the Vietnam
Yeah.
War, World War II, so this year it's Charles.
who died, I guess, in World War
He
I.
died in World War I in 1918.
That's what the American Legion Hall is named after.
So I have a request here. It says, "Dear Mr. Lanzetta, I'm requesting that the SBL 103.1-1-33.100 be rezoned from R1 to RAG1 in order to comply with the large solar farm requirements. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter. Regards, Jeffrey Aldrich."
That's what we just talked about.
And yes, that's the one we just talked about. And everybody received Chris Wilco's update, which was great, I thought.
That's fantastic.
Okay, moving on. Moving on up.
So you're gonna, I'm gonna go back to that. So you want to change it to RAG1 and then automatically turn it to a solar farm So you lost no, so now right at the last second, you want to turn it to RAG1, so you don't have to
Well,
pay back. No, I mean,
got a
so we don't have to,
request.
so we don't have to pay back taxes on the farmland that you were getting an exemption on that you weren't, I mean, it's just, I don't know, I don't like it.
5 years of,
No,
5
this
years
is
of back
a-
taxes.
Well, he's not gonna pay 5 years of back taxes, because it wasn't a farm.
It was.
It was a farm.
It was.
Not that, not the R1. He wasn't paying farm taxes on it. He
get
was getting exemption.
An ag exemption.
So how was he getting a farm exemption on an R1 property?
Doesn't matter where it's zoned, it's still a farm.
As long as it's farmed.
Zone is used.
10 acres or more.
There's nothing to do with
farmed,
what
that
you
is
zone.
farmed. Showing $10,000 a year profit. You get 10 acres or more, $10,000, you get the ag exemption.
Right. Regardless of what it's zoned.
tax- they're getting,
It's taxed as use, is basically what it is.
It's the use, and then once they change, if you change the zone, the town will get a 10-year
Yeah, they gotta
kickback
pay
on
5-year
the-
back taxes.
5-year back
He was
tax.
getting exempt.
And then that property will take the square footage, 20 acres, half of it, whatever it might be, and then it'll get a higher tax rate on it. It'll increase the tax rate for the town from, don't quote me, I'm not the assessor, $5,000,
Right.
a couple $1,000s an acre, to up to $65,000, $70,000 an acre would be the tax increase.
Right.
So the
I
solar
mean, we're
farm-
talking about all the time aesthetics of our town, aesthetics of our town, aesthetics of our town, but yet we're so apt to make 10-acre solar farms in the middle of farms now. And we're talking about aesthetics of the town? Are you kidding me?
It's to the west.
It doesn't matter. It's aesthetics of the town. I go up, what is it, right in the town of Marlborough, I go up, what is it?
Hudson
the
Terrace.
Main Street, there's a solar panel sitting right on the corner. It looks
Yes,
horrible.
it's very ugly.
Oh, that's on
It's
top of
horrible.
Church Street.
We
Not
start
Church
opening
Street,
this
that's
up, our whole town's gonna
That's
turn
it.
into solar farm. Because we have all this open land, because they can't farm it no more, so they wanna sell it off
Well,
and make
I
other
don't
money.
know that they can't farm it anymore. A lot of productive, very valuable farms in the town. So I
I'm just
wouldn't say
saying, we
that's
talk
gonna
about
happen.
aesthetics, and now we wanna put up 10-acre solar farms. I don't know.
Well, then we shouldn't have passed the zoning law that allows us to do that.
Probably not.
So that's,
Yeah, I mean,
You have to pass a law for solar farms.
Yeah,
You could have restricted it, but you have to pass a law for it. Town is obligated, municipality is obligated to have a spot for something when somebody comes into town. So solar farms, you have an obligation to create the zone. It's
Look,
just
I'm all for
a matter
solar,
of doing it.
but we could see within 2 years, it already lost its luster where it doesn't benefit a lot. We can't even get a solar farm built anymore because the tenants isn't there anymore. So,
no, well, the problem we're having with the solar farm, are you talking about the landfill?
yeah, landfill.
That has to
I
do
mean,
with the
the
slope,
sloping is an
slope of the
issue,
land,
too.
yes. It has nothing to do with economics. I think,
I think we're still spot zoning, that's my point.
You should.
Because he's not that old. A little bit older than 10.
things happen, I guess, I don't know how it passes R1, it's got compost.
they're leaving us, that's good.
Not RAG one, that's what
Leaving us
Yeah,
out.
so you can,
Amy used to have some tomatoes and
no, this one makes this one into that, and then this one makes it legal to, RAG.
You lost your audience, Al.
Okay.
That's what
There's something wrong with that altogether.
It looks like Florida to me.
That is Florida.
That's where it should be, in Florida.
A lot of sun in Florida.
There's a lot of stuff.
All the sun you want.
So,
Okay,
All right.
moving right along. Public comment.
so how does the rest of the board feel about this zone change?
Zone, you got it.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, you
Yeah,
got
so
it.
I got it right this time, zone change.
You got it right.
I think it makes more sense to put it in the proper zone, so our Ag 1 is certainly, I don't know why that was zoned R1 in the first place, to tell you the truth.
even the compost is on R1.
Yeah, R1,
Yes,
that's what's
right.
looking at the map and keep looking
From
at it.
that standpoint, it makes more sense to make it our Ag 1, so. I understand your concerns, Scott. I think you can mitigate some of those issues you're talking about regarding,
One on top of Bloom Street, that was done before we had a law, right?
that was done
It's a
terribly.
residential, top of Bloom.
Oh, they're just putting it on
It's
the,
a residential ground mount.
It serves the
Meets
residents.
the requirements of the code. It's an
what about the one that you,
accessory.
the one you go up the turnpike on the right-hand side right before you get to,
Horrible.
Milton Road or whatever it is?
That's Steve Clark.
Steve Clark's.
Steve Clark.
Okay.
You got a grant to do that.
Okay. So, let's continue.
So what are you going to do?
Well, what I'm trying to say, let me continue what went on at that meeting with myself and Scott and the planning board and the ZBA and the code enforcer. So there was, this was brought up about the zoning change. Also was brought up, and I think Scott did a great job of detailing what happened at that meeting, was we'd like to see, and I think the zoning board and the ZBA agreed to turn the private road ordinance back to where it was, right, Tom? That's 4 on a private road. You could get 2 more if they're abutting a public road, so you could potentially get 6. Right now, we have it that you could have unlimited, and it's up to the planning board.
To their discretion, correct. So private road, if I come in front of the planning board with a 15-lot subdivision and I want to make it a private road, it's up to their discretion if they can say yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we run into problems with private road already because there's...
Yeah, that's a sewer.
Yep. So how does everybody feel about that, the private road ordinance, to change it to back to where we had it?
I think it's a great idea. Should never have been changed in the first place.
Well, I think Mrs. Lamberta made a good point, because isn't it like state code or something about the 4 to 5?
I think she made a...
Town law applications, yeah. I don't know how we got it through.
But
So, okay, so I have the zoning change. And now I have, number 2 is the private road. Number 3, I think you had also, Tom, something about sheds to eliminate something.
There was something in town code when it first came out in the 70s, and basically the intent of that section of the code was not to have people get building permits for doll houses or kids' playhouses outside, and somehow worked our way into our code back in the 70s, early 80s, that you didn't need a building permit if you had a shed up to 140 square feet, and you didn't have to do it for play. But honestly, like I said, the shed permits are not so we only charge $50 for the shed permit and based on square footage. So it was contradictory to our code not to say you don't need a building permit at 140, but zoning says that I've got to make sure you know that it goes in the backyard, the guy's side yard has to have a setback of 10 feet, additional setbacks at additional height. So there was a lot of restriction or requirements, so people throwing sheds up without permits is not a good idea, and it contradicts our code. Most people never seen that section of the code. I just knew it was there, and I just believe it should be removed, just require the permit.
Okay.
So people still have to get a permit to put up a shed, and they still have to meet the setback requirements.
Setbacks, where they gotta go, side yard, rear yard, square footage, because at 160, you have to put a slab underneath it, a permanent foundation. So everything on and on. And we've been doing that since I've been here 15, 16 years.
But
They've always gotten a permit.
So that's still there. What
And
you're
that's always there, but the contradictory section of the codes, again, it was adopted under the New York blanketed code, basically trying to say, if you put a swing set up, you didn't need a permit.
Okay.
You put a little playhouse up for your kid, you didn't need it. Well, what started happening, and all the other towns started pulling it out fairly quick, and ours has been laying around a long time. Somebody builds, a 10 by 10 playhouse for their kid. Well, the kid grows up, all of a sudden, now it's a shed, and now it's in the front yard, and now it doesn't meet the zoning requirements, and I've got to write violations for it. And they say, well, it was a dollhouse, but now it's a shed. It just became problems. And if it was too close to the house, less than 10 feet, there was a fire safety issue for fire jump, because you put your lawnmower in there, catches fire, catches the house on fire, insurance company problems, a lot of problems. So that just should go, we should leave the code book.
Okay. Did you have a question, Al?
No, I think I understand.
Okay. And we also, there's this noise ordinance that we talked about, right? And the board's seen the changes, they're actually pretty minor, right, Chief? Decimal and times and stuff like that.
very minor.
So that's the other thing. And also, we talked about increasing the height from 35 feet to potentially 45 feet. And we're Bobby Tronsolito was going to get feedback from the fire commissioners on that. The other, what else? Scott?
Density in the hamlet.
I want to add a note number 2 in the schedule, right, for rent, just that it's a note, because this is what the engineer gets for the minimum setbacks for 155, 52, RAG1, RA1 HD zones, next to agricultural land,
Okay.
that it's 75 feet, not the typical 25, right?
Yep, there's a problem with that.
So
Also,
the
planning
engineers
Planning
do the
board
plan
gets
by
a
25.
Yeah.
subdivision, they do the building envelopes, and they use 35 feet as a setback, and our code says if it's active agricultural land, it has to be 75 feet.
I thought we had that with the right to farm.
It's in there.
It's
but
in
not
there.
on the
It's in there,
schedule.
but they don't ever
Contradicts.
see it.
It's not on Schedule 1.
But this will be what they see.
Okay.
And so then it's.
So they don't have to
better
redraw
check that
plans. Is
section
that
of
what-
the
Yeah,
code, and
so
when
just
they
put
check
a
the
note on
section of the
Schedule
code,
1, because we already have a note on Schedule
It'll
1,
say, oh,
number
you
1,
gotta
just
do
put
this.
note 2 saying
So
that
then they don't
the
waste their
agricultural
time
section of
coming
the code
It's wrong.
Supersedes
the
this.
setbacks in Schedule 1
Yeah.
up on top.
So if
But it
you
just-
have, so what does that mean? You have to have a 75-foot setback?
Correct. In any district, it's not specific to the ag district, any district that a property borders an active agricultural farmland, land that's being farmed,
Yeah.
that setback in Schedule 1 is superseded to 75. It shows you to another section of the code book, but it gets lost. Most of the time, it's lost.
Yeah, there's a lot of houses that aren't.
Right, so I show up on a site, and they've got their footings in the ground, and I go there, and there's a bunch of apple trees right next to the house, and they've got the setback at 35.
Yeah.
They have to move the footings because they have to be 75. And they tell me, well, that isn't what I proposed in front of the planning board, and I go, I don't care.
Yeah.
You have to move it. So putting it out on the Schedule 1 will make it easier for the engineers, architects, when they do their maps, to know that they have to correct the building envelope. Doesn't become 35 feet on the sideline, it becomes 75 feet. So there's an increase.
That's a huge increase.
It's all it is a note to what we already have. in
Yeah,
the
it's
code.
just
Yeah.
It's not
corrects the
actually
problem before it
Changing
happens.
anything, it's just adding it to the schedule.
Increase is justified for spray, for noise,
Well-
a bunch of other things.
Yeah,
The-
definitely.
Justified.
Yeah, well, the history of the law is that
Solar panel.
people were developing properties next to farms, selling houses to people who had no idea this was a farming community, the people buying the houses, and all of a sudden complaining they have a sprayer coming through the yard at 2 a.m. in the morning. It nipped that right in the bud.
Correct.
It just got rid of that. And you're spraying on the porch windows and car windows and all that stuff.
Justified, but it gets lost with the architect engineers and the surveyors when they do their plots.
That's crazy.
So just a simple note. It doesn't even-
Okay.
It's already in the code book, so it's not a
Okay.
code change.
Is there anything else I missed?
The only one, I mean, did we get consensus on the, oh, well, even besides the, Bobby getting information, does the board agree on 45 feet for hotel?
That's 3 stories. I've seen 3 stories. I know I'm still walking a tight. I like to see what Bob says about the mutual aid to the north.
So Alan, Bob said that,
I met with Bob. I met with Bob and the officers, and the code that we have it now is because we have ladders that only reach the height of 35 feet.
right,
So basically, so I had already preceded, I'd spoken with my fellow officers, and we had a commissioner present when Bob came in to have the meeting. And we explained it to him that this isn't gonna open up to residential, RAG, everything else. There's gonna be certain areas you're gonna be able to actually do this in. That was the first question that came from my officers and commissioners. So it's not gonna be townwide 30 foot, you know what I mean? We're not raising this to 45 feet townwide, so.
HD.
Yeah, and be HD, and there's not too many lots that are going to allow for the development of such type of building based on acreage available and topography, so.
It comes down to that same thing that, again, municipalities are, obligated to, offer something in a certain zone. So if a hotel comes in, again, obviously we could restrict that and say, we don't want a skyscraper, but if a hotel comes in and says, listen, I'm restricted to 35 feet, again, that's 2 stories for me theoretically above the parking garage, above the main office area, so they're looking for a little additional height. And again, I agree, let's not get crazy for skyscrapers, but along the 9W corridor, if we have a developer come in and wants to put a hotel in, and maybe put a retail store, a restaurant on that first floor with the check-in counter, 3 stories above that isn't probably super unreasonable, which again gets you, if you figure 10 feet per story, right? 3 stories above the commercial entity gives you 40 feet. So So we got 35, are we pushing the envelope at 40? It's close, so it's 45. Again, we defer to the
What
fire
is,
companies.
what is the Super 8 in Highland, would you say? The Super 8 in Highland, how high is that?
Oh, I think that exceeds the 45. I think it's more than 3-story.
You think so? Right next to Artega's there?
I think so. I want to guess it's around 50 feet. It's a little higher.
I don't think so.
No?
No,
Don't think it's
take a
more-
look at it, when you get a chance.
So, I mean, with
But
the
I don't
board-
think, we're looking for a Super 8 type
Well,
person to come in and develop that way. I think we're looking at something a little,
But again, I think what Alan was saying too, we brought this up at the meeting, was it's a specific spot that this can only go in. It's gotta have water, it's gotta
Certain
have
specific
sewer,
spots,
It's
yeah.
gotta be in the HD or BC zone. There's only very limited areas in this town that could do that. It's not,
Is somebody proposing to do something like that? Maybe.
yeah,
was an
across the
ask.
street, there's been interest.
there's been a lot of interest
I
across
mean,
the street.
I'm not totally opposed to it, but I have reservations, so that's where I stand. So if you're looking for our stance on this.
So, I mean, would it be all right with the board if we just, that one particular, we wait for Bobby to check with his officers, because that's what he said.
That's fine.
Okay.
You can wait for Bobby and do it, yeah, I'm fine.
What did he tell you? What did he?
Well, Bobby felt uncomfortable, changing things for what we don't have. We don't have a ladder. So he's concerned about,
Plus, he was concerned about backup.
You know,
Backup.
at one point in
No,
time,
it's-
one point in time in Hose, the fire district didn't have large diameter hose, they didn't have 2,000 gallon diameter pumps. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that if a certain developer comes in and develops something like this, that the fire departments cannot adapt to accommodate what's going on to satisfy the ISO ratings. So I'm not gonna sit up here, I'm a fireman, but I'm not gonna sit up here and let that stop any kind of development, positive
Right.
developments coming to the town.
I wouldn't let it stop
not
it
go
either.
too far.
But at that meeting, which Bob was there, and he said that he would like to talk to his
Right.
commission.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I think we owe him that respect to actually see what they have. So with that
Now,
on the
wasn't-
side, did we cover them all?
No, I think there was one more about
And
the
the one with
density and the
the-
hamlets.
The one with, we wanna look at putting commercial, residential.
Yeah,
Three
that
stories,
one, talking to Tom about.
Commercial, residential.
And explain why it is that you can't put residential on top of residential and commercial on the bottom.
Because that's what the code book says. Code book says
Oh, I
residential.
know, we're talking about changing it.
Right. Well, right now, residential over commercial, right? So the idea that under New York state law is that during the day, your high hazard's in the commercial, right? Your cooking's being done downstairs, something's downstairs, and the majority of the time, the people aren't home upstairs. So the hazard could be put out without a loss of life. And then that basically changes over during the nighttime. Most of the time, your downstairs is closed, with your residential now having the high hazard because they're home. So there's no risk of one killing the other. Once you go above again, on top residential, above commercial, now the two residentials have a higher risk of death because it's residential above residential. Again, that's in the past. Nowadays, with the increased, sprinkler suppression systems being advanced the way they are, standpipes the way they are, it's advanced methods. So will they exceed the 35 feet when they do that? No. When you go residential, commercial. But again, the intent of our code, and I believe that's how I read it, is that our code says you could do in the C1 zone, you could do a residential above commercial, 1 story. You can't do that second one, again, because of the residential over residential being a double high hazards, where the residential
Although we
But-
do, although we have it.
But
Although
we have them.
pre-existing non-conforming.
I know,
Yeah,
but we
pre-existing
have it
non-conforming.
Already, I know.
But remember, the one by the Marlborough firehouse, which was that was 3-story
Burned
residential.
off.
Once it burned, they had to cut the top story off of that brick building. They
Yeah.
couldn't go back to it.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
that's what
remember
we're
that.
getting
But-
at. We were looking at, maybe we should go back to allow that. That's-
But
that
going
was-
back to
that was a
allow it,
question that-
when that was written in our zone,
Right.
when our zone was created, we're talking early 70s, when our zone book was created.
1974.
Now, fire code, building construction, okay, monitoring systems and sprinkler systems have all advanced quite a bit since that was written. To me, that's an antiquated code. It's beyond antiquated, okay? Just the way the buildings are designed now to contain it, I'm not a big fan of this truss construction, but if 3-story, we could probably write in there it has to be built a certain way as far as I-beam as over truss. These buildings that we can be built now are 100 or 500 times safer than the buildings we currently have in this town. So
And the
I don't,
dirt floor
we can't
would
keep
be
just going back and
restricted,
saying we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it.
Listen, I don't have a problem with it, because basically the IRC code, the International Residential Code, is gonna tell me about the sprinklers and the
Yeah.
safetiness, just like Alan's saying. I don't have a problem with it, just
Someone
again, if
wants to build
somebody
it, they're gonna
comes
have
to
to
me
put
with that
sprinklers.
project,
You can't do it.
the code doesn't allow it.
And you say, and that is in the, still in the feet restriction of 35 feet, right?
Well, 2 residential above a commercial is gonna be within the 35 feet. I don't think they're not gonna have a problem with that.
Well, until you get into aesthetics. Because now if we start saying, hey, we're gonna want, you know, this kind of look, are we gonna want a building to look like a cinder block with windows and a front door? I don't think we want that. All right, so that's where you're gonna hit your, underneath your 35 feet. Now, if we say, hey, we want you to pop up a peak, we want to have some dormers, we might even want to have a little bit of a parapet wall up here, maybe, you know, put something ornate on the front. Now, all of a sudden, we're putting ourselves in, if we're gonna stick to that 35 feet, we're gonna have cinder blocks with windows and a door.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, I do think so.
I don't think so. I think you went too extreme.
I don't think
Frida's,
so.
what's
How are you gonna
Frida?
do it?
Excuse me?
Which Frida's? Does that
Front or
exceed
back?
that they're 35 feet?
Front or back?
Well, it's by law, it's 2.5 stories.
Well-
The other thing's underground when you talk
You've
about
got-
that.
Yeah, because Frida's is basically commercial,
Right.
possibly residential someday, but it, you know what I mean? But right now, it's commercial, the way you look at it. And then the backside of it, the backside of the bank building, which is now the Red House, the backside of Frida's, the backside of Manisi's, the backside of Studio at Stephanie's, the backside of Parks, and the backside of Vivian's are all, there are 3 stories.
Right.
Depending
Yeah, I
on the
mean,
side of the building. The
that's
backside of
why I
Brooklyn
think-
Bottling's over 30 feet tall.
I mean,
On the-
Bill Giametta brought
on
it up, I think that's
East
why he
Brook.
brought it up. He said that we already have this in our town, but I guess he must have had.
Pre-existing,
Yeah,
non-conforming.
but I mean, he must have had, I don't know where, he's from the ZBA, so I don't know where he would have had this.
But I guess you measure off the front of the
Yeah,
building?
maybe that's why.
Right,
He's saying-
everything in Milton that you're talking about, Frida's, Stephanie's, under law is considered 2.5 story. It's not a 3-story building, even though there's 3 in theory, it's not. It's a 2.5 because the other one's under grade.
What's Pizza Town?
Excuse me?
Pizza Town.
So that's 3-story, pre-existing non-conforming. He just came to
Yes,
me, he just
pre-existing.
came to me to try to finish the 3rd story, and I told him I had to defer
But that's an
to you after
example of
the
where we
code.
have commercial with a
Right, that
hot
is,
oven
definitely.
and residential, right?
Right now, he's commercial residential. I mean, he's okay. The 3rd story's not finished.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
He came to me to finish it, and I said he'd have to wait till you guys made a decision.
Maybe
because
that's where
the
this
extent-
came at.
That would be residential,
Maybe that's
commercial.
where it came out of.
Code book doesn't allow it right now. I don't believe it's right, like Alan's saying, because of the advancement of sprinklers, but right now that's all it could be, because basically the code says, you want 3 apartments, you still can, it just all has to be all above commercial. Say like Frankie's has his stack because he goes deep.
Right.
You could go deep, but you
Well,
can't go high.
Pizza Town would have to sprinkle that 3rd floor?
Absolutely.
To make a
Once you empower the code to allow residential, commercial, he's automatically sprinkling.
It's international code.
That's good.
Actually, residential above commercial, it's all sprinkled
Sprinkled,
anyway,
yeah.
like Frankie's. They're pre-existing
Studio.
non-conforming, you can't go after them for that, but like
Yeah,
when
but if
Frankie built his, 1-story residential over 1-story commercial,
But like
the
you said,
residential, commercial all gets
if we
sprinkled.
did tweak the code and he went to go through the 3rd floor now, he'd have to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely. The 3rd
So
story
that's a good
kicks it
thing.
in automatically, under the IRC code anyway.
Because that building's actually 5, right? It has 2 underground, I think, right?
Yes.
That's 5 stories.
So,
So, what I get the sense from the board that just about everything that we talked about, is including the 45 feet, which I'm a little uncomfortable right now, but I could be persuaded by Bob if he feels comfortable. That's the only thing I have against the 45 feet. Should I start working on this with one of our legal, probably,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay.
There was one more thing, right?
There was the density in the hamlet.
The property.
yeah, the only, that was reducing it to 7,500 square feet, is that?
Right.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh,
With
yes,
If they
yes.
have gas, and I don't have an objection, but what is the rationale
None.
for it getting, doesn't, yeah.
It's just to distinguish it differently than anyone else, so it's,
Okay.
like,
I mean, I could,
this question exactly came up at the meeting, exactly what you're asking, it was like, I think Steve asked it, right?
Right.
Steve Clark.
yeah.
And we all looked, and I think you were there, right? And it really has nothing to do but to limit it to
That Pacific.
parcels that can only do this, certain parcels that are allowed to be able to do this, because we want to limit
Yeah.
it, right?
Okay, so is there a precedent for that in other communities? That's all
Well, I don't know, you know, I was thinking about that, because I actually took a phone call from somebody who was at the meeting, who had a lot of questions, how I felt about it. So we had a pretty good conversation, and he had brought that up to me, and I said, yeah, you know, we had discussed that, because, you know, it fits all facets of, you know, smart development, blah, blah, blah. That was my opinion on it, you know, and as I was talking, I was like, you know, we're not doing it for a specific parcel or not, and let's just say some other parcels wanted to be developed a little bit differently, well, then maybe that would, you know, incentivize the developer to move the gas line down, up or down in the hamlets. We give them a little bit more of an incentive to actually, hey, I'm gonna make this investment in here and do it. As I explained to the gentleman who called me, I said, this isn't for anybody in particular. I said, this isn't for basically smart development of some codes that were, these buildings were in there. They were basically, they're pre-existing buildings that are, now they have to conform to a code. So you've got parcels in there that really never could be developed. They're always gonna be what they are. And they've been what they've been for the last, I don't know how many decades. This could actually spur a little bit of smart growth
Within the
rebirth
hamlet,
within
though.
certain parts of the
But
hamlet.
I mean, it kind of would make it almost
Get people off the street parking.
hamlet-wise though, Alan, right? Because, you know, the gas line's only gonna go so far, the water line's only gonna go so far.
Well, you have to have some water, sewer, and gas,
So,
yeah.
and sewer's definitely only gonna go so far, so, to answer your question, like I said, it really has nothing to do with, lowering
No, there's
no rationale to it, other than to
But there
make
was,
something
you know,
different than the other part of the
there was
code.
just one concern, and
Parking came up.
Ed had the concern about parking. So we're going to look at that site. The individual is actually going to do something so he could show the board exactly what he's doing. And then I think we could go,
Yeah.
But the parking concern, you have to have parking also.
Well, again, according to our code of parking is, the requirement is 1.5 per apartment, and you get credit for 5 on-street parking for each unit, so.
But what if there is no on-site street parking?
It's crazy.
So that would be, in this case, 5 times 4.
Well, there's
20 cars?
In theory,
He gets
there's
credit
there's
for it,
never
so
on
like if he doesn't
there's
have
never
enough
availability of
There's
on-street.
no parking.
Then you can add it all up.
As
So
business
that's how they
comes
get away
in,
with, like,
They get credit.
I'm saying apartments, if you bring an apartment in, he has 1.5 parking
Not that they're
spaces per
necessarily gonna
apartment,
use
say he
it.
has 6 apartments there.
But I mean, in this
Where else are they
parcel,
gonna park?
this parcel, he's building 2 spots per unit.
I understand, but
So
he's
he's
saying
putting
that
16 parking spaces
Yeah,
per
he's
unit
putting
plus
two,
garages.
two-door garage.
I'd like to see that.
Well, that's what he's gonna do.
That's what he's gonna
He's
do.
gonna
He's
do
gonna
2
draw
car
it up, right?
garage with parking in front of the garage for each one, which gives in the garage and then out, so you actually have 32 if you really wanted to,
Yeah.
but 16
I
outside.
would, and
And
that's
that's-
pretty small houses, pretty small apartments.
No, I've seen,
It's not a big spot.
go into Bridgeview. That's how Bridgeview's
He's going
designed.
to do that.
It's
I'm
not
going to
that-
show it
It's
to you
not
to
that
see
hard
if it's
to really
feasible.
do.
Yeah.
So, if everybody's in agreement, so it's getting late.
Yeah, it's getting late. Come on.
What I'm going to do is, all the codes that we have talked about, except for the 45 feet and the gas change, I'll just put on the burner for now until we get the plans for the change the gas, and get back from Mr. Tronsolito on the 45 feet. If that's all right?
What was the gas? Change the gas, you said?
Change the code to 7,500 square feet from, you have to have sewer, water,
Oh, okay, I get that.
and
That's
now
where you're saying gas
gas.
from, I guess.
So it goes from,
I didn't understand what gas was.
yeah, it goes from 15,000 square feet, right, Tom? It goes to 15,000 square feet in that zone, right? If you have water,
2015, 10.
Yeah.
20 with nothing,
10.
15 with 1, 10
10,
with both.
so it goes from 10 to 7,500 square feet.
75 with 3.
Okay. So that's that code.
Yeah,
All
all right.
right?
I say, what's the worst road, Jerry, as far as parking goes that you see in the Hamlet Mall? What about Church Street?
They're all bad. Yeah, we could talk about this all night. They're all bad because there's houses that have been cut up into 3 apartments.
Further up you have actual
I know.
driveways.
Public comment, James, come on up.
First, I'd like to make a correction, and that is the Marlborough Summer Recreation Program they go to the Ulster County Fair, not the Dutchess County Fair in the past.
Sorry,
Okay?
Thank you. Good hawk.
Good call.
I should have just said fair.
Two other things I would ask that the board have done. One is to have the ZBA agendas posted, which they are not. The planning board does a very good thing. Not only do they post their agenda, but they post when the meeting is canceled. So you know not to come because the meeting is canceled for whatever reason.
Is the ZBA, just asking, is the ZBA that busy? Like, I'm just asking, do they have a lot of business, the ZBA? Or,
Based on, historically, they haven't put the minutes up, so I really couldn't tell. But this year, they actually did put the
very few
minutes up.
meetings, though, right?
No meetings.
So,
They only meet when there's something,
I know, he has this thing about we should have it canceled, or, so this way if you go into the agenda.
It's not a standard.
yeah,
they should say they're canceled.
right, and what the planning board does is they put up their agenda,
Canceled, yeah.
and then they'll just put it canceled. Okay? And then if there is something, then to put up what they're going to be talking about. Okay? This,
I'm sure we would do that, Jim, but there are very few meetings to.
yes, but it was like one on March. Was an agenda put up? No.
Yes, wasn't it?
No, the minutes are up.
The minutes are up,
But there's no agenda. And I have to say one thing, that's good that the minutes are finally getting up. That's a positive step.
I would say we meet the minute requirement 99.9% of the time. So you're talking about 1/10 of 1% of the time we don't get it up there, so. That's a
Well,
pretty good record.
the agendas are not, none of the agendas are up,
It's okay.
period. Okay, the other thing is,
Understood. Gotcha.
the other thing that I think would be helpful to the board is just like you get a report from the planning board, if you could get a report from the ZBA when they do have a meeting. Obviously, if they don't have a meeting, they don't need to report, but I think the board deserves to get a report from them too. And I think that the planning board does a very excellent job of doing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James.
They're not even on here for departments, actually.
What, the planning board? I mean, the ZBA?
No, I mean on our,
No.
they only meet once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Melissa, do you have any
They met
comments?
March the 8th.
You want to give a shout out to Gail Appler? You have to do it up here.
You have to come up.
Come on.
because-
Come up, you waited all that time for Gail, that's a good thing.
State your name, please.
Yes.
Melissa Quimby from Marlborough, town of Marlborough, or hamlet of. Last week, I've been having trouble with in front of my, I don't have the words because Rusty was handling everything.
She bailed.
There was like a ditch that was getting bigger and bigger from the erosion coming down Mount Zion Road, and I've been putting it off for too long. And then Rusty Warren, my boyfriend, said, why don't you ask the town if they could give us a big pipe, and then I'll dig it. We were gonna rent an excavator and do all this stuff, and just ask for the pipe so that the water wouldn't go down on Mount Zion and freeze up in the winter. And Gail, when we stopped by, he literally stopped what he was doing, came up to take a look, and said, oh, you don't need a pipe, we'll do this, this, and the other thing, put in a swell over here. All you gotta do is flatten it out, put a little item 4. Apparently item 4 is this thing. And the next thing I know, before we could even do it, he went up and did it himself, just like scraped it all. So the rest will take a month when it's not so cold out and we can get asphalt up there. But I just could not believe it. I called him myself, but I wanted to come and say a few words about him. Thank you, Gail.
Good, that's a good.
He'd be
man.
here, but his son had a little daughter today, so.
Oh, congrats, good.
Went over to see that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right.
If
No, there
you
you go.
could
Thanks.
if you could send a little note to the supervisor, so this way I could share it with Gail.
He's the supervisor.
Exactly.
And he's a supervisor.
He's
this
a-
guy.
Yeah, that'd be great. And my email address is right on the web.
That was nice.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So, next time with correspondence, we'll mention
that
that
publicly.
letter that you have sent me, okay? Thank you. Any public hearings? Okay, resolutions. Here we go, rock and roll. Where are my resolutions? Here they are. So, I think this is great news. We have an agreement with Tilcon, and it has to do with two sites, Lot 108.4-3-5, which is about 32.8 acres, and the other one is about .31 acres. So that's a license agreement. Plus, the resolution is to execute a proposed license agreement. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following, whereas the town of Marlborough wishes to enter into a license agreement with Tilcon for the purpose of allowing the town to use the property of Tilcon for the conduct of its Marlborough Mills Waterfalls Walkway Trail System and all legal uses related thereto, and whereas the proposed license agreement is an annex hereto as Exhibit A, and now it is hereby resolved as follows. The action is a Type 2 action under Section 617.5C 15 of Part of 610706 NYCRR and will not have a significant effect on the environment. And the town board authorizes the supervisor to execute the proposed license agreement annex hereto as Exhibit A. And the foregoing resolution has duly put it into vote, which resulted as follows. So the license agreement, hopefully everybody looked at. Yep. Usually when we do a license agreement, we give it to our insurance people, and they make sure that we're covered, the same as we did for the municipal parking down in Milton and the municipal parking in Marlborough. Colleen?
Supervisor Lanzetta?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Corcoran?
I just want to thank Howard and Al for their due diligence on this. They did a lot of work.
Thank you.
In getting this done. Been through 2 administrations now, so good job. They only got a little bit, but, you know, they got what they wanted, but mostly what they wanted. But they got taken to the bank too much by the taxpayers for $1 a year. So it should have been free. No, $1 a year. So I say yes.
Councilman
Thank you,
Koenig?
Scott.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Yes.
Councilman Malinelli?
Yes. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, guys.
We done? Can I make a motion?
I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
All right, I made it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, guys.
The lights were done at the
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, they look good.